During the latter half of the 8th century, the church was once again rocked by a new controversy. This new crisis was not of doctrine but of personalities. On one side was Ignatius, the rightful Archbishop of Constantinople, and on the other side was Photius, the intruder of the same see. Ignatius was the son of the Emperor Michael I, who was dethroned by Emperor Leo in the year 813 AD. Ignatius was forced to enter the monastery by the orders of Leo, who dethroned his father. Notwithstanding, Ignatius took his vocation seriously and was ordained a priest and was seriously fighting against the iconoclast when he was elected bishop to the See of Constantinople. The emperor deposed and excommunicated the archbishop, but Rome refused to confirm without hearing from Ignatius. In the year 858 AD, the chief counselor Badas was living with his daughter-in-law, which is a public scandal in Constantinople, and Ignatius, as archbishop, refused to give him communion, so Badas arrested and deported Ignatius. The following year, Badas appointed a layman, Photius, to the vacant see of Constantinople. Some believe that Photius was the son of Sergius, a nobleman and a runaway nun. Photius received his best education as possible. He was skilled in grammar, poetry, rhetoric, philosophy, medicine, law, and other sciences. He received his diaconate and priesthood in interval of 5 days, and after 5 days again, which is Christmas Day in that same year, he was ordained a bishop of Syracuse. By this, he has broken the law of the church, which demanded an interval for receiving holy orders, and secondly, consecration by an excommunicated bishop, and finally, taking the place of a bishop who was lawfully ordained for the see. Furthermore, Photius stood ipso facto excommunicated. Knowing his position, Photius wrote to Pope Nicholas I to approve his election and consecration. The Pope sent 2 legates. The legates called a Synod of Bishops of the East, which met in the Church of Santa Sophia, but after the synod, they took heavy bribes and agreed to the deposition of Ignatius and the election of Photius. Meanwhile, Ignatius, on exile on the land of Terebinth, sent his trusted friend Theognostus to explain his case. The Pope heard both sides and decided that the real bishop of Constantinople was Ignatius and his exile was wrong. The Pope wrote to the emperor to restore Ignatius to his see and to reduce Photius to a lay state. Pope Nicholas held a synod at the Lateran in the year 863 AD, during which he deposed and excommunicated the 2 legates who had taken bribes from Photius. The synod also decreed that Ignatius was the true archbishop of Constantinople. Photius disobeyed the Pope because he had the emperor and the court on his side. He brought Ignatius in chains to Constantinople. Then he excommunicated the Pope and the Latins in the year 867 AD. As Patriarch of the imperial city, Photius wrote a letter to all Eastern bishops, which he said, the Latins begin Lent on Ash Wednesday, they do not allow priests to marry, they do not allow priests to administer confirmation, and have adopted the Filioque, which is the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Son also. Because of these errors, he said, the Pope and the Latins were heretics. The Emperor Michael was murdered soon. Bassi became emperor, and Photius fell ill with his new master, which is Bassi, and he was ejected and removed from the see of Constantinople, and Ignatius was reinstated. Pope Nicholas died in the month of November 867 AD. The next pope was Adrian II. It was at the request of Ignatius and the new emperor that Pope Adrian sent 3 legates: Donatus, the bishop of Ostia, Stephen, the bishop of Nephi, and a deacon, Marinus. They all arrived in the imperial city in the month of September 869 AD. It was this synod that became the 8th General Council of the Church and the 4th Council of Constantinople. Before the legates left for the East, Pope Adrian II had called a synod to discuss the events in Constantinople. The synod, which met in early 869 AD, examined the acts of Photius and the synod he called. All the acts of the Synod of Constantinople were condemned. Photius was excommunicated and reduced to a lay state. Those who stood with him should be forgiven after proper penance. This was the mandate given by the synod called by Pope Adrian. With this mandate, the legates came to Constantinople. The first meeting of the council took place on the 5th of October 869 AD. Besides the legates and Ignatius, only 18 bishops were admitted, since each bishop had to be examined as to his own orthodoxy. On February 28, 870 AD, when the last session of the council was held, there were 102 bishops. The main event of the council was the trial of Photius and the condemnation of his deeds. Actually, it was not a trial but the imposition of the acts of the Synod of Rome called by Pope Adrian. On the first day, Photius appeared before the council to hear the charges against him. On the 8th of November, he was sentenced. Photius never defended himself. A few days later, all the anti-papal writings of Photius were destroyed. The sentence of excommunication was pronounced on him and he was reduced to a lay state. With this, the real work of the council was over. The bishops then passed 22 canons dealing with different subjects. One of the canons forbade laymen to be elected bishops. Another canon condemned the theory that man has two souls. Any man, before he receives consecration as bishop, must spend 1 year as lector, 2 years as subdeacon, 3 years as a deacon, and 4 years as a priest. Finally, Photius' name was mentioned in the canons that he was never a bishop, and all those who were ordained by him must be ordained for validity. With the passing of these canons, the council came to an end on the 28th of February 878.